Hello, my name is Beth Dixon, and this is a podcast on some percent applications. Remember that the most important thing you can do to help yourself learn is to attend your class and listen to your teacher's lectures in the classroom, because the most important thing for student success is your classroom attendance. Let's look at 3 examples that I have. The first one is about some farm population, and so let's just dive right into our problem. In 1990, the total population for the United States was 248,709,873, with 2,987,552 considered farm population. This compares to 1890, where the total population was 62,941,714, with the farm population estimated at 29,414,000. Compare the 2 years by calculating the percent of farm population versus the total population. Well, it tells us what it wants us to do. It wants us to compare the 2 years. And as we read this problem, there's a lot of big numbers involved. But we're going to let the calculator take care of the big numbers for us. But first of all, let's look at what it's asking us to do. It says compare the 2 years, okay? Well, I have 2 sets of years, so I'm just going to make a little chart here. And I'm going to label one 1990. And I'm going to label the other one 1890. So I've got my 2 years, okay? And we're going to look and compare by calculate the percent. In other words, what percent of the farm population is of the farm population versus the total population. Now that's a little tricky because the of falls in a strange place there, and we always want to think about that. But let's set up our problem by starting out with our proportion and over 100. Since we're looking for the percent, and remember we want the part over the whole, and remember that total is another good word for the whole. So we want of the part or the whole part on the top, the whole or the total on the bottom. Well, the total population would be the 248,709,873, and the part would be the farm population. That would be the total, and that would be the part. And that would be the 2,987,552. Okay? Now, we don't want to get confused here with all the numbers. So we write them down carefully and just write them. But once we've got that, we then just cross multiply and solve like any other proportion. Multiply 248,709,873x. Lots of numbers, but we just write them down. Let's get that up so you can see really well. Then 100 times that will be 2,987,552, and 100 will add 2 zeros to that. You can use your calculator if you need to. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 248,709,873. 248,709,873. And it'll take longer to write it down than it will to type it in the calculator. Okay, let's clear that. 2,987,552 divided by 248,709,873. And we're going to get 1.20. And I'm going to take this out 2 decimal places. It doesn't tell us, but, you know, in my case, I'm the teacher for this problem. I'll tell you to take it out 2 decimal places. So this is 1.20% of the population are farmers in 1990. Right there. Okay, now let's compute in 1890. Again, start out with your fraction over 100, and we want the total, we're looking for the percent, and we want the part over the whole. The total population is the 62,941,714, and the part is the 29,414,000. I'm going to cross multiply. That'll give me 62,941,714x equals 29414. The 3 zeros I had times 100, which gives me 2 more. Do that on your calculator if you need to. 62,941,714. 62,941,714. X equals 29,414, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, divided by 62,941,714. And again, you can see that on the calculator, I hope, that says 46.73. And so our farmers in 1890, and if we wanted to, it just said to compare them, so we're just going to compare 1.2% to 46.73% in 1890, and we can see the decline of farmers as our workers in population. Okay, let's look at the second example that I have here. Soccer is a popular sport and growing in the United States. If 78% of the 18 million Americans who play soccer are under the age of 18, how many Americans under the age of 18 play soccer? So it says, and we want to start out with our proportion, and we're looking for the percent first. Well, it gives us that. That's 78 over 100. And we're looking for the total. Well, it says 78% of the 18 million Americans who play soccer. So we know from whichever survey I looked at to make up my problem that it's saying 18 million. I'm going to leave that as just 18. And 78% of that 18 are under the age, and it wants to know how many under the age of 18. So that's the X. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to cross multiply, and I've got 78 times 18, which gives me 1404. Divide both sides by 100. Gives me 14.04. And remember, this was in millions, so that'll be 14.04 million soccer players are under the age of 18. Okay, let's look at one last example. In 2010, 87 cases were brought to the U.S. Supreme Court for appeal. If the Supreme Court accepts only approximately 1% of the petitions for formal requests for appeals, approximately how many total requests did they receive? So in this case, again, we set up our proportion. put it over 100, look for the percent in our problem to see if that's what we're looking for. Well, it tells us that 1% of the petitions are accepted. So that'll be 1 over 100. Then we're looking for a part and a whole. Well, it gives us, well, 2010 is not going to be a number. And then it says 87. Now notice in the 87 is written out, but it is a number. So we've got to decide if 87 is the part or the whole. Well, it says 87 cases were brought to the Supreme Court for appeal. And we're looking for how many total requests did they receive. And only 1% of the petitions for formal requests they only hear or accept 1% of the request. And they heard 87. So that 87 is the part. And there's a big number, which is X, the total. So this time we're looking for the total. Then we just cross multiply. 1 times X is 1. 100 times 87. And since that's 1X, we don't really even have to divide by 1. So X is 8,700. It was really quite simple to solve once we set it up. Notice in these 3 problems that we solved them we were looking for 3 different ways. In this one, we were looking for the total. In the soccer problem, we were looking for the part. And in the first problem, we were looking for the percent. So in an application problem, you can be looking for any of the parts, but you set it up very similar to as you would just a simple problem that says what percent of what is what. But the words are inside the word problems. I hope this helps. If you need additional help, remember you can always come by the Math Lab in MBS 222. Thank you.